Are you ready to have your mind blown? Are you ready to play the greatest game ever created? Then go somewhere else, because this is a Darksiders review. Okay, this is Twisted for OpenFireGaming. As you just heard, I'm going to be doing a Darksiders review. So off the bat, you can tell I'm not particularly, what would be the word, fond, liking, that sort of thing, this game. I anticipated this game for 4 years, and it so far hasn't delivered for me, which is kind of setting the pace for how this review is going to turn out so far. So I'm just going to kind of get down to it. From what I see now, the story is you're playing War, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and he's been framed for starting the apocalypse early. So heaven and hell have started a war between each other, and then this third party group, the Char Council, show up and say, "You're responsible for this, we're going to execute you." But you protest this, and eventually, after a century of debate, you finally convince them to allow you to go back to the real world, well, to Middle Earth, and pretty much try and right the wrong sort of thing and prove your innocence. So in order to ensure that you don't like frolic off and say, "Screw you guys, see you later," they install this guy called the Watcher in your arm, who's kind of like, their eyes and ears for this whole mess. So, it's half decent. The game does kind of pertain to it, but what happens is a lot of the characters seem to be like either half-assed or just kind of like odd. Like they introduce you to this guy you're working with, Samael. Apparently you're supposed to have like prior knowledge to him, but it's never really explained, and a lot of the characters just are kind of like, "Yeah, I'm here." They don't like pertain to anything. Like also another part is you meet this guy called the Black Hammer, who looks like this really awesome dude, and he even crafts a gun for you, and that's the last you see of him. So they kind of like pick up and drop off characters really quickly, and they don't allow any time to really build up anything for them. Now I'm going to do the graphics. The graphics are very nice, though. Nice style. It's kind of a gothic cathedral kind of look to a lot of places, with these tall, spanning arches and tall walls and ceilings, and with a gothic, apocalyptic style, which, it's nice. It's, the graphics are good. There isn't any clipping or shading issues I see. There's only one animation hiccup I found, which is when War charges his horse, and then when the horse goes from the charging animation slowing down into a walking animation, there's a bit of a hiccup there you can see. But other than that, I haven't really found anything wrong with it. So I'm gonna give the graphics a nice high score, because those are done pretty well. Now, this is the gameplay. In the gameplay, it's like a love-hate relationship, because there are parts where there's just pure awesomeness, like when you're locked onto a character and you're doing crazy moves, and it's really intense because you see the camera's kind of like almost pulsing with every hit, and it looks really nice. And then there are other times where it's just like suckage to the nth power, where it's just like mindless, boring hack and slash, where you're just dealing with a bunch of groups and such. So it's kind of like it's all over the place. And then there are like the mini bosses, and the boss fights are usually really good. Like pretty much every boss fight I had was a really good fight, except for this one where I'm fighting some big golem thing, and I'm trying to use these portals to like jump over him, and it wouldn't let me create the portals half of the time, and like sometimes it just becomes extremely frustrating to fight, or like there'll be some fights where you just simply like almost cannot win, and there's such a slim sliver of hope, and it like crushes you. It's a love-hate relationship. I mean, there's really good parts and there's really crappy parts. Overall, the weapons that you only get 3 usable weapons, which is your big sword, Chaos Eater, your standard hack and slash weapon. You get a scythe, which is used for like area and, like crowd control damage, and I like it, it's nice. And then you get this fist, the Thunder Fist, I believe it's called, where you can just like punch stuff, and it looks really bitch-ass. I mean, all I can do really is just like send an enemy flying, which I can do with Chaos Eater anyway, and it doesn't really look all that useful. It's more of a utility device just to blast through these blue blocks that block your path. Then you also get some equipment weapons to use. You have two different ranged weapons. A gun, which is virtually useless, considering the only advantage is that it has a decent range. But other than that, it does really crappy damage. And then you get this big, like, shuriken throwing blade thing, which looks like something from Dark Sector. I mean, it does great damage, but it has, like, crappy range. So it's more, again, that's more of a utility weapon. The gun is virtually useless. You get like a chain link harpoon thing, which you can either bring enemies towards you or bring you to them, which is kind of useful, for combat aspects. And then you get this thing called the Voidwalker, which is a total ripoff of Portal, where you can create these blue and red portals to jump in and out, and you can increase your inertia with them. It's just so blatantly stolen from Portal, which brings me to the concept. In the concept of the game, uh, it's nice. It's a hack and slash, game, but there are just so many games in it that you can see. Like me and Temtem10 were playing it. We can just sit there and just point out what game that's from. Calling up your horse and such is from the Legend of Zelda franchise. There's a lot of Twilight Princess-esque things you see just doing around and moving. Um, your character War looks very Warcraft-esque, especially with the big shoulder pads and then go into a cloak. His face and the way his hair is colored and where it's positioned, just kind of the bulkiness of his body. He looks very Warcraft-esque. As I just stated before, you have a lot of the portal aspect with creating stuff. There's also a heavy Devils May Cry stuff thrown in there, especially with some of the equipment and your skills and your weapons, and also God of War like finisher moves and such. It's just I see a lot of other games in it. So overall, I really anticipated this game. I saw this in my freshman year of high school, and I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be so good, and it didn't deliver for me. So I would GameFly it, rent it maybe, but I would kind of recommend against buying it. So yeah, this has been Twisted for OpenFireGaming, and play hard out there.